All right. Hello, boys and girls. That's Mrs. Willoughby. Happy Monday. I hope you guys have been doing some art to pass your time. I'm going to try to start putting up 1 or 2 videos every day using materials that hopefully you have at home. You can always improvise, or if you really don't have any markers, crayons, supplies, and you would like to have some, please feel free to email me, willoughbyk@psarrows.com. I'm going to be helping to pass out food at West Elkton on Wednesday, so I'm sure I could get some art supplies to some kids if you need them. Today, we are going to be working on a colorful patterned landscape. So this is following right in line with our lesson on lines. Okay. And as you can see, this one is it's pretty intricate. It's pretty detailed. So, a project like this, we're probably talking for an older kid. But I'm going to show you how to do some simpler ones too. So we're going to start with just the drawing of the landscape today. Okay. We're going to do the patterns and the colors in our next lesson. So today we're worrying about drawing our landscape. So you can see in this landscape, when I started, you always start with this, we call it the horizon line here. And that was the edge of our water. So up front, we did some bumpy lines to show the rocks, then some pointed lines for the grass, and then we added in these hills, a tree, and in the background also a couple of mountains, and then we've got the sky and a cloud. So I will show you how to recreate this one in a moment, but we're also going to do a few easier ones for the smaller kids that wouldn't be quite as hard for them to pattern and draw. So I'm going to set this off to the side. So again, when we're doing a landscape, it's so hard to figure out how to turn the paper on this. So when we're doing a landscape, we are going to want to start with kind of this horizon line. So I'm going to start by making a straight line right across our paper. So, and that was not a straight line at all. And there's my eraser. So I was not following my own line rules there. So let's try that one more time. I'm trying to do a straight. I'm going to kind of mark here about where this line should go. I'm just go straight across the paper. Okay. So I have one line there, which I'm now going to make a little bit darker so that you guys can see it. There we go. So we've got that line there. Then we have to decide what exactly we're going to add in the front and behind the horizon line. We have to remember when we're drawing things that are closer to us are going to appear bigger. Things that are far away are going to appear smaller. So I do want to I'm going to put in kind of a little mountain range back here. So I'm going to just add some mountains in the background. There's no rule for how these mountains have to come together, which one's taller. We're just adding those mountains right in there. Okay, so now you can see we've got these mountains, and I'm trying to make these lines darker so that they show up better. And we're going to be going over these lines with a marker with a thicker line. So if you get a little off like I have, that's okay. You can always fix that with the marker, okay? So now what are we going to have here in the foreground? We might have, I think I'm going to have a little rolling hill here in the front. Darken that line up. Whoops. My goodness. So we've got that hill, and I'm actually going to add a little path here. So this path is going to take us kind of back here. And again, remember your path is going to be bigger up front. And as you get back farther, it's going to become smaller, okay? So we've got a hill, we've got a path. I think I might add another hill here that's gonna kind of intercept our path a little bit. Okay, and what is our path taking us to? Maybe it's taking us to a nice little farmhouse that sits back here. Okay. And you can see I'm going to have to erase that line there, and since I made mine really dark for you to see, that's going to be harder for me to do. If you want to add a three-dimensional quality to the house, of course you can. All right, so we've got our little house there. Sure, it's gonna need a little door. Okay, you can add things like houses, you can add things like trees, that's totally up to you. I think I am gonna add a little tree right here. The tree is gonna be a lot closer to us, so it's gonna be a little bigger than maybe our house is, and that's okay. And for this, we're just going with simple drawing. We're not trying to draw things super realistic. This is more for, you know, a patterning exercise. So we are just sticking to the basics. So I'm gonna add some tree there and erase some of these lines. And then I'm going to add this big thing of leaves that's going to go around the tree. So I'll have to erase some of this too. Our hill is still there, obviously. We just aren't going to be able to see all of it because the tree is going to be blocking some of it. Okay, so we're getting rid of. And again, your lines should be a lot easier to erase because you should be drawing lightly until you're happy with it. And then you can, oh, Cyrus just spilled my dog just spilled my coffee all over the place. Cyrus, come on, honey. Oh my, what a mess. All right, give me just 1 second while I grab some paper towels. You crazy dog. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Let me get this mess cleaned up and we will get back to work. Oh, working at Fun is always an adventure, right? Okay. So now I've got my landscape the way I want it, okay? Now, if you don't want to add these trees and these buildings, you know, another way that you could do this landscape, you could even do it with your paper horizontal instead of vertical, is you can just start drawing different types of lines. Right, we've got hills here. Maybe a lake back here. And then up here, maybe we've got, I do like putting the mountains in the background. For this activity, they just look so nice. Again, they don't all have to be the same shape. Don't be afraid to erase anything you mess up on. So there's a simpler landscape that is still going to look great once we add all of our patterns. Okay, so you can see all the different ways I've drawn the landscape. So it's going to be up to you which one you decide you would like to do. If you want to do something a little more challenging, you know, this is definitely right up your alley. Now, for the coloring in, you could be using markers, crayons. You could even do it all in pencil if you use a lot of different patterns. But that's basically what we're going to try to do, is we're going to try to fill this up using patterns and colors. So we know patterns are a combination of lines, dots, shapes. Pattern can be just about anything you want it to be. I think I am going to start coloring in on my water here. I'm gonna do the simpler landscape. And again, the patterns that you choose, you know, it can depend on your age level, you know, whereas some littler kids might just do, you know, lines. Once, you know, you have a little more control, you can go into something that's a little more challenging, but I'm going to give you some different ideas for some different patterns. So one of my favorites that I think turns out really nicely is simply just doing bigger dots with smaller dots around it. So I'm going to do that for my lake here. So I'm just going, oh wait, that is purple and not blue. And find an actual blue. There we go. So I'm going to start on this water. It doesn't really matter where you start. I'm going to add a big dot. And then I'm just going to put these little dots all around my bigger dot. And I'm just going to keep going like that. Notice some of them aren't going to go all the way around if you run into an edge, and that's okay. That helps. We even might put some of our bigger dots right here on the edge. And we're just going to keep trying to fill all this in using this one pattern on the water. I don't know why this is one of my favorites. I just think when you get it done, it looks really nice. So on top of you contacting me if you need anything, I would love to see Some of you send me some pictures of your artwork, whether it's artwork that we're doing together right here, or just something you've been working on since you've been at home. And with your parents' permission, you know, we can share that out on future YouTube lessons. You know, I think this is one of the hardest parts about being isolated like this is, especially for teachers, is we are just really missing seeing our kids and talking to them. And I would love to hear, you know, what you've been up to, what kind of art you are doing. All right. So I'm not going to totally fill this in right now just because that would take a lot. It's going to take a lot of time to do that, right? I'm just trying to get you started so you can see this pattern that I've gotten started for the water. And it's already starting to bring things a little more to life, right? Okay, so that's a pattern we can finish. Let's talk about some of our patterns for the other areas. You can stick with colors that you think things would be, or you can be more imaginative. Excuse me. Again, it's really going to be up to you. You know, I'm picturing these hills as being kind of grassy, and that means I can do them green, but I don't have to. I think I'm actually going to go back here to the mountains first, and I'm going to do maybe a different pattern for each, just to show some different patterns that you could be working on. So, okay. So for this, I think I'm going to go with more of a swirl pattern. So I'm going to create these little swirls of color. And I'm just filling this in. So it's kind of like the @ sign that you see for email addresses. Just there's not an A inside of it. You could put the A inside of it if you wanted, right? So we've got one mountain done. And when we're totally finished, we are going to go over all these outlines with black marker. But I did learn the hard way on my other one that you want to wait until the end to do the black marker, because otherwise it can make some of your colors run. So if, for instance, if you can see, it's hard to see, but right here I have some black there in my yellow that bled when I was doing that. So part of doing a pattern is just making these simple shapes, but kind of adding things. So for example, you know, my pattern could be simply just circles, right? I could just draw circles of color. And that in itself is definitely a pattern. I just keep filling that in there. However, if I want to make the pattern maybe a little more interesting, then maybe I go back in and I just add an X. Maybe I should have made the circles a little bigger, but I add an X inside each one of them. So it's still basically the same pattern. I'm just making it a little more interesting. So how detailed you want to be on your patterns is up to you. I'm going to finish this one up. All right, so I've got that pattern there. maybe you want to do more lined patterns. So, you know, I could actually use what the shape is to help with the pattern. So maybe I want to do this upside down. Okay, I'm going to go with a regular orange. That tiger orange is dried out. I don't know why those tend to dry out faster than the other markers, but they do. So maybe I'm just adding these upside down V's that actually kind of match my mountain shape. And again, you know, anything we can make a pattern out of. Okay, so, and then again, I can leave that the way it is, or I can go in and maybe add some dots here that make that pattern just pop a little bit more. So again, this depends on your ability level. There is no right or wrong way. So if I hold this up, you can see there's not a lot of difference, but a little bit of difference. Some other patterns. Let's see, we haven't used pink yet. Maybe I want to do some squiggly lines down. And I'm drawing these lines down. This is and I'm just squiggling them. They don't have to be perfect, right? So that in itself, again, is a pattern, or I could add maybe a line of dots that goes down every other one. It's just finding shapes and repeating them. Okay, so that gives me another mountain. That almost kind of looks like a bike chain to me now that I've done it. So let's see. So we have one more mountain here. Maybe I haven't used any green yet. And maybe I want to do this sort of wave pattern. So, but as you can see, every piece begins to have its own kind of personality. There we go. So you can already see that, you know, this color is really helping us see those patterns. I want to do something with the sky here, so that way I can go ahead and outline these mountains so you can see kind of how it's going to pop there. So I'm going to use this teal blue for the sky. And I think I'm going to do a pretty basic just dash dot pattern. If you can't think of patterns, there are lots of ways to find them. First, if you look around inside or outside of your house, you're going to see patterns everywhere in materials and your flooring and your bricks and your ceiling. And then of course in nature, tons and tons of patterns out there. I know it won't seem to stop raining for us, which would maybe make things a little nicer. When we do get some nicer days, I am gonna try to do some drawing lessons outside. So maybe that'll give us, you know, a reason to get outside and get something done. So I'm trying to alternate my pattern here. So wherever there was a dot, I'm doing a line, and wherever there was a line, I'm doing a dot. And I'm just going across, filling all of that in. Whoops, I went into my mountain a little bit there, but that's okay. All right. So this pattern is really coming together. It does get obviously a little more challenging once you're down here into where you have a lot less space to fill in. All right, so that makes our sky look something like that. So, and like I said, the reason I wanted to do that was just to kind of show you how once we do go over this with the black, it is going to make it pop a lot more. So I'm just going to trace over my mountain. I'm not going to do this bottom line yet though, since I haven't filled in the rest of the water. Just tracing over those pencil lines. There. And now you can see that that really makes those patterns stand out against each other. Okay. So I am going to go ahead and fill the rest of this in. You know, you're more than welcome to stay and watch till the end. It'll take a little bit of time. If you want to take it from here and start creating your own patterns, that is great too. I'd like to maybe, I wish I could figure out how to do these live so that, you know, maybe you guys could ask questions. This is all obviously new to everyone and we're trying to figure it out. So again, if you have any suggestions, questions, send them to my email, WILLOUGHBYK@psarrows.com. So I'm still just doing these big circles surrounded by little circles. I'm having to do some of them on the edges, so I'm only getting like half of the big circle. That's okay. It does help them kind of blend in a little bit better. You know, when you're doing these patterns, nothing has to be perfect. We're just playing around with lines and dots and colors. I've personally been working on some paintings while we've had some time at home and refinishing some furniture. I do know that a lot of different art galleries are online right now for free. I might try to come up with a list for those and post those on our Camden Primary Facebook page that Mrs. Campbell made up to help us be able to stay in contact with you during this time. All right, so I've got that water finished now. So I'm going to go ahead and do that top line. And you can see it's all just really starting to come together. Let's see. And it does get a little, you do have to end up repeating colors, of course. Let's see, what is a pattern? Okay, so let's go along with the natural curve of this hill. And we're just trying to draw kind of those parallel lines that we talked about last time. It is a little more challenging to draw them in marker. And we don't have to be perfect, but we're trying to keep about the same distance between our lines for our pattern. You know, another option for younger kids is if parents want to kind of draw the landscape for them and then they can fill it in with color or patterns. I mean, you could always draw these landscapes and just color them in too. I just really wanted to keep going with our lines and our patterns. So now I've got this, and again, this could be a pattern in itself, but I want to take it kind of a step further. So on every other one, I'm going to now just do a curved line this way. So, I mean, it's really just about how much time you feel like putting into this, right? I figure our classes are 45 minutes, so right now we're at about 33 minutes. All right, so again, I'm only going to do that on every other one. So patterns are all about what are you going to repeat? When are you going to repeat it? How often? All right, so one more. So again, this could now be our pattern, or we can add some more to it. So I want to add some more to it. I want to do maybe some more dots here. So on the in-between that are blank right now, I'm going to draw some dots in there. Good. All right. Oh, don't want to forget the top one. Almost forgot because we don't have that black line there yet. All right, so again, that could be our pattern, or maybe I want to take it a step further. Maybe I'm going to color in every other one of these. So your pattern can be as detailed as you want it to be. You can hear that noise. That is my dog acting like a crazy dog for no reason, attacking the floor in the kitchen. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and draw this black line here. All right. So, okay guys, I'm gonna finish this up. You guys, hope you're working on your own patterns, and I will, well, you'll see me tomorrow. I hope to see you soon.